Washington State Predatory Wildlife Incident Reports. Have you checked out that website? So the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife is required under the RCWs, which is the Revised Code of Washington. Those are the laws that are set out by the legislature, to have a public-facing website. So you can go to the Department of Fish and Wildlife website. You can go to the Predatory Wildlife Incident Reports page. I'll have a link down below in the video description for you. And then there's a green bar, and you click on that, and it'll take you over to the mapping feature. And then you set whether you want to look at predatory wildlife conflict activity. They're required to put in their reports that they receive regarding predatory wildlife incidents. The legislature only requires that in the cases of wolves, grizzly bears, and cougars. So you check a box, and then you're going to get little icons, and then down below there's going to be short descriptions. It's going to have a date, time, it's going to have a case number, what county it was in, and then they'll have a brief description. In the upper right-hand corner, you pick a date range. Right now it's early January 2025, and so if you go down below to incidents, there's not going to be a whole lot showing because it's early in January, early in the year. So just make sure that you set the different search criteria. Why this is important is it's got a lot to do with, well, how the state's managing predatory wildlife. At least as far as grizzly bear sightings and activity, cougar sightings and activity, and wolf sightings and activity. One of the first things you'll notice in the descriptions is you're not getting a whole lot of information. And so that's why I've also put the link down below for how to fill out a public records request for the department. And so if you see an incident there, you're going to have enough information provided that you can fill out a public records request in such a way that the research department can figure out what it is you're asking for, and then they'll send that off out to you. So I'm going to talk today about cougars because there's always a lot of cougar activity posted to that website, and the department is reimagining. The department's not, it's the commission, but the department kind of has to do what the commission decides. And so the commission's kind of reimagining cougar season setting, and over time, and it's kind of going a lot faster now with this commission, is they're shifting a lot of hunting opportunities away. And when it comes to these predatory wildlife incidents, I'm an old man, and so in the old days, there was a lot of, neighbors helping neighbors. It's kind of how communities operated for a very long time. And then governments got big, and governments started to shift away from, because they noticed it was an opportunity for them, hey, let's stop neighbors being able to call a hunter to come out during a legal hunting season and take care of this situation. Well, if you close cougar hunting in a certain area, and if people have problems with predatory wildlife, predatory cougars, cougars are coming in, killing their livestock, they're, menacing their children, then a government worker comes in, creates a government job, creates more bureaucracy, government gets bigger. You know how that goes. Your tax dollars hard at work because you're not able to call a hunter to come in and take care of this problem that you might have on your property. So it's interesting to follow right now as they're reimagining the cougar hunting opportunities for public hunters in certain areas of the state. If you follow things like the Predatory Wildlife Incidents page, you begin to notice that those areas that are close to public hunters going in and putting some pressure on the cougars. When hunters are put pressure on wildlife tends to go more back out, further into the wilderness, further out into the wild places, just to get away from the hunting pressure. And then that, of course, trickles down to, the hunters are putting pressure on them, so they're moving back out into the wild places where ideally we'd like to see wildlife, and the wildlife's not hanging out at, Farmer Bob's goat pen, eating his chickens, eating his goats, and tearing up his calves. So if you follow it over a period of time, you start to see these trends. You also see that there's always a number of, and you put your own value on it, but to me, there's a good number of people having to shoot cougars in self-defense or shoot at cougars in self-defense, and it does not make it into the mainstream news media. And if you jump onto this website, you start looking at these reports, you begin to notice that all incidents. It doesn't matter if it's just a sighting. It doesn't matter if it's, the department came out and realized, hey, it wasn't a cougar that was, walking around the chicken pen overnight. Turns out maybe it was a dog or something else, or maybe it wasn't even identified as wildlife. But nonetheless, they're very brief. The descriptions are very, very brief. So if you see something in there, I'm going to encourage you, take the information, then open up another search window, go over to the public records request page on the Department of Fish and Wildlife website and put in a public records request. They send you quite a bit. And then you can get more information about, hey, what's going on out there. It's always been interesting to me that there's always a good number each year, there's a good number of predatory cougar incidents towards humans. And because it doesn't make it out into the mainstream news, if you're not following some of these websites, it's good that the legislature mandates that the department put some of this on a public-facing website so that we, the public, have access to realize, wow, there's more of this going on than I thought, because, hey, I didn't see it on the big Seattle TV news show at 5 p.m. So I encourage people to jump in there. It also gives you some insight if you're paying attention to what's going on with hunting seasons, if you're paying attention to whether or not you might actually have the opportunity to contact a hunter. And in the state of Washington, interestingly enough, again, this goes back to the department and it goes back to the commission, the department licenses wildlife control operators so that a member of the public, you got a problem with a raccoon, you got a problem with a beaver tearing up your property, you want to have somebody come out and take care of it. It's not the kind of thing that the department's going to come out and deal with for you. They're going to refer you to somebody called a wildlife control operator. And it's a certain license that individuals can get from the department to be able to go out and help members of the public. And it's a job, you're going to pay the fee, but it's a license that the department gives out so that people can get trained up in, hey, here's how to deal with somebody who's got a raccoon problem. Here's a license. Now you know that they're a licensed person to do that kind of work. Interestingly enough, the department does not allow cougar or black bear conflict incidents to be dealt with by wildlife control operators. That's something that the department holds back for themselves to take care of. Again, your tax dollars at work, your tax dollars creating more bureaucracy, your tax dollars creating more government jobs, more, and that's going to cost you more benefits that you're going to be paying these government workers, more insurance and pension you're going to be paying. Whereas, again, I'm an old man, and in the old days, Farmer Bob had a problem. He could call a licensed hunter during a legal hunting season. If he still had a tag, he could go out and help Farmer Bob. But in the cases of cougar and bear conflict, unless it's the legal hunting season, and they continue to shorten the seasons, they close down some areas completely in the cases of cougar where it just never opens because the government's doing the removals for people. And so it never opens up to public hunters. Bear seasons are getting shorter. The spring season went away. And so when those off-season conflicts are happening, the only option people have is, call the department. And that's, I guess, what the government wants, is that people become more reliant upon the government to come out and do that stuff. Whereas my opinion, but hunters, they have a whole lot of experience, and there's a lot of hunters who are real good at dealing with some of that stuff. So, yeah, you might want to call the department if it's off season, but always keep in mind, if it's the legal hunting season and you know a hunter and they've still got a hunting tag and you're in a place where they can legally hunt and you give them permission to do the removals, to do the hunting, to harvest that animal, to put a tag on that animal, take care of that problem for you, think about contacting a hunter, because that is the way it used to be. But as the regulations and the laws change, you'll see some of that trend on the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife predatory wildlife incidents page. You kind of see what kind of incidents are happening, what kind of conflicts happening, what kind of depredation is happening, what counties they're happening in, the responses that they get. And then if you see something that you want more information on, just dive over to the public records request page and put in a public records request. And then they just email that stuff out to you, and you can start to kind of get dialed into what's going on out there. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate your time, appreciate your moments that you spend on this. And hey, always remember, these animals are wild animals. You know, they're not friendly pets. They're not friendly forest pets. And stay safe out there. Thanks so much for watching the video. Have a great day.